You know, you can be all the things you always wanted to be. Beautiful, sexy, easy as 1, 2, 3. Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul. I'm Mouse Jones.
I'm Mac Wild.
I'm Fly Rob.
And we are
the guys next door. Holla at me.
That boy was ready to put up a shot real fast.
Oh, you can't get me back on the
If y'all do not know,
if you don't
Mac
recognize that voice,
is back.
Yeah,
Mac is the
baby.
Return of Mac.
Baby.
Come again.
And, man, I'm good, man.
Tell the
I'm
people
good.
what's been going on with you.
I mean, you guys weren't on the live. You guys weren't.
They weren't
at the live show.
They
Dang,
didn't pay that money.
Y'all didn't pay the money.
They didn't see the meet and freaks.
I mean, some of y'all did. Some of y'all did, and we enjoyed seeing some of the neighborhood. It was amazing.
That's a fact.
It was amazing.
Thank
So, if you guys know, the baby is here. Lil Mama is here.
The baby next door.
The baby next door. She's here.
Circle of life.
Did you lift up and do the hum the baby?
Did he?
Do you
sent
want to
us
see the video?
Oh, he definitely did.
He
I was
really,
about
when
to
the
say.
baby was born,
Nah,
he was
he
like
did.
this.
He did. I
And he had
forgot.
the whole
I
Simba
forgot.
Lion King moment.
Through the light.
Only thing he didn't do was put the thing on her forehead.
Oh, bro, do you think there wasn't breast milk on her forehead? You better. Christina was hot at me, but it's all good. It's all
That's
good.
fine. But
Breast milk on
welcome.
the
I mean,
forehead.
I'm not gonna say it. You can say it. 'Cause I don't
Welcome
have
to the
no
club.
kids.
Thank you. Welcome to the club.
Thanks.
So now we just waiting on Ryan.
Which one? Which brings us to our
That's our guest today. We got legendary music producer, music artist, tech mogul. We got Ryan Leslie in the building. Ryan, what's good?
Hey, everything is great, man. I've been hearing everybody talking about their vacation plans.
What you
man.
What you trying to do?
Trying to go?
Trying to get to some different temperatures in
I don't
the
know.
winter time. I see,
I done
man.
heard about you. You getting castles and shit. I can't afford no castles and shit. I never forget. I seen that shit. What was that blog?
I'll stay in the
hip-hop.
maid's quarters.
It was like Ryan Leslie is in a castle recording. I said, nah, bro.
Yo.
I can't afford that. So if you talking about castles, I'm out. But
I'm with
regular
it.
Airbnb,
As long as it's
Yo,
funded. If it's funded,
you want part of Airbnb, I go to get castle.
Castles and coastlines, man. Let's
that's
go.
fine.
Like
That's
that.
an out.
Like
That's
that.
an out. Is that an Airbnb? Is that in the Airbnb?
Nah, that's how you can't get those.
Is that
Like when you go to the filter, one room, single room, whole place, castles and coastlines.
Castles and coastlines.
That's actually
Yeah.
fire. That's fire. Don't let
Let's
nobody steal
go.
that.
That's how we do. Let's go. That's how I like to record.
All right. Well, tell me next. Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Yo,
That's
next
a fact.
record, we gotta be there. Guy next door, we gotta be there. You know, Mac be singing and shit.
If you ain't heard,
If you ain't heard,
Yeah,
singing, she got a
yeah.
little Grammy nomination or whatever. You know what I mean? So we can make something happen.
back in my day, I had a little
Me. You know, we good background. We good background. We good background.
Nah, yo,
Yeah.
I've been a fan of this man
What?
since I remember the YouTube videos, bruh. Like the YouTube videos of watching
when he
him
got the-
when he got all
put
the
together.
instruments
Yo,
and
when
he
you had when you were waiting on that little ass horn.
Yeah.
Remember you waiting on the little
Yeah.
trumpet?
What?
And the little trumpet made the difference.
I probably
Yeah.
watched that video about 100,000 times.
Bro, the song is literally him not saying anything, and I felt that shit
Gibberish.
in my spirit.
Gibberish was fire.
In my spirit.
I just listened to Gibberish on my way here.
Yeah.
That's probably the last song coming up.
Yo,
and
what
I'm
was
probably
you,
not
yo,
lying.
for real, keep it a bean. What was you thinking when you was making these records like that? Those
Let's-
first two albums are so crazy.
Yeah, but let's keep it a stack though. Most people who actually make music, that's how they make
Yeah,
music.
for a fact.
Like
And
just
so-
those little intricate pieces.
Yeah, they just mumble. I mean, they just mumble on records. And I remember actually when I made that record, we was at Chung King Studios and John Legend was in an adjacent studio. That's the beauty of, and I'm missing that in New York now.
We don't
You know
have
what I
it.
mean?
We don't have it.
Hit
much out
Factory
here.
closed.
I think the only two
Studios
places
closed.
that we have it is not in New
Electric Lady.
maybe.
Yeah,
That's about it.
I
Electric Lady,
mean,
that's about it.
yeah, Electric Lady maybe.
But
Anyway,
it depends on exactly. Yeah.
back to the story. John Legend stepped in the studio and I played him Gibberish just as it was. And he was, oh, this is incredible, but you got to put words to it. And that was the exact reason I didn't put the words. So I said, I'm going to just put it out just like this. And it actually worked. I would say that for other folks who are thinking that happened to just be a great moment in time, it was just a moment. And I think that the reason why it worked is because it's really only one of them. And I happen to be the guy that just put out the unfinished song and said it was finished. It's kind of like the Emperor's New Clothes. Like, it's finished.
Right.
You know, but I think it's great that John at that time was like, yo, it's actually not finished.
You ever hit him after? Like, yeah, nigga, fuck you.
Nah.
Playing with me.
Nah.
You see him, like, nigga, I put another one out right now.
Right.
Playing with me, nigga.
Yo, man.
That inspired me to. I mean, I played instruments growing up, never to that level,
right?
But when I saw that, it made me want to get back on like a drum, like a kit, and get crazy. I didn't, but it made me want to. Like it was, it was just so amazing that picking those instruments and the whole delivery process of him waiting, like, nah, I need this now. Like, yo, we got to get this done, and it was amazing to me.
Nah, on some real shit between him and my big homie Salam Remy, those are like some of the biggest inspirations.
Did Salam just drop something too?
Yeah. For the culture, do it for the culture. Part 2, which is of course more crazy Salam shit, is fire. But watching you guys with your instrumentation, it's kind of it's made me think about music in a different way. Even being young, I grew up in a house full of musicians and all of this stuff. But like when you actually watch a musician in his zone, it's a completely different thing. So
and I thought I was doing a lot till I actually sat down. I delivered records at the time. I was signed to Tommy Mottola and Ed Woods. Rest in peace, Ed Woods. And he brought the record, the first album, to Tommy Mottola, and Tommy was like, yeah, this is all cool and everything, but you need more. And so he really was one of the first inspirations to say, it's all right to do what you're doing in your little apartment in Harlem. Let's take it to Sony Music Studios. Let's bring some of the greatest instrument players and take some of your ideas and put them in the hands of like real proficient experts. So, you know, T-Bone Walk, he actually passed on, but he's doing a lot of bass and guitar on that first album.
Yeah.
And we actually were able to convince Tommy to get in the studio and play guitar on my album.
Are you serious?
Yeah, straight up. Because I'm like, yo, man, you gonna say all this, you better come to the studio too.
You gotta show
I
up.
like that.
Yeah,
I like
he did.
that.
He did.
So how is the journey? Like, because everybody knows the music, maybe not everybody knows the journey. Some people may know a little bit somewhere. So let's piece it all together. How do you go from being your parents were missionaries?
Yeah. So in the Salvation Army, second generation. My grandmother is from China. My grandfather is from Holland by way of Suriname. They were on missionary service in Guyana. My mother grew up in Guyana and then met my father in the Caribbean islands. And then my dad, being in love with music, came over as a jazz trumpet player, just trying to play the clubs in D.C. And my mother, you know, in true love and support, followed him here. And then I was conceived, and then they were like, music is not going to be the way that they raise a child, just because they couldn't actually generate income. So my father actually just through everything was like, look, you know, if you really want to make a difference in our lives, you got to change the trajectory in terms of wealth creation and wealth generation. And so I said, oh yeah, I'm gonna do music. That's definitely
You said, well, give me that beat.
Right. He said, that's definitely not the pathway I expected. And so I being a great son and being somebody that really wanted to make my parents proud, that's really the reason why I went to college so early, so I could actually get my diploma.
Now let's talk about how early.
You ain't just going to college.
You just say like that. Like,
you see, he snuck that in there, right?
Like, come on.
We've
Say early. How early did you go to college?
Yeah, so I applied to school out of my junior year of high school. I got into Harvard out of my junior year of high school. So by the time I was 19, I was a senior at Harvard, and then
Jesus Christ.
I gave the diploma to my father. So my Harvard diploma is actually in my dad's office. That's because crazy. I really feel like out of everybody, he was the one that actually sat down, helped do the applications, always encouraged me to do multiple standardized tests. And I studied political science and macroeconomics. So very in tune with everything that's happening right now in the country. And man, you know, that's why I said, look, you know, for me, from an impact standpoint, when I look at what the opportunity is on a global scale, that's really why I decided, like, you know, yeah, I love music as the vehicle, and I love music as sort of an outlet creatively. And at the same time, I want to be able to create a platform that's agnostic to whether or not people like my music. And so that's really where I went into.
I love
Just
that.
want to let y'all know, agnostic has never been said on this podcast.
I love that.
Ever.
Now, I'm a Harvard graduate. Pretty sure. Pretty sure
we're gonna hear some more.
news.
We're gonna hear some more.
I'll be honest with you. I might have to make an announcement now. I might have to change the name of T.I.
To the Ryan Leslie.
To the Ryan Leslie
Because
word of the day,
my man went
'cause-
to Harvard.
Yeah, I didn't go to Harvard.
He went to a school, but it wasn't that
Hard
school.
knocks. It was
So I
hard
might have to
motherfucking
change the word to the
You know what?
Ryan Leslie
You know
word of the
Ryan
day.
Leslie-
We might, yeah.
In your honor.
Okay.
We are right here, guys next door, going forward. The Ryan Leslie word of the day.
That's
So
right.
when
You got it.
when
You
they
got it.
come up here and say one of them $17 words,
Okay.
it's gonna be
It's
doing
definitely
the Ryan
the
Leslie.
Ryan Leslie.
Okay.
Word of the day.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
fire.
That was good.
Good shit, Ryan.
All right.
Good shit,
Right.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay.
Look, you see? Look,
See,
go
there
that
it goes.
complex.
There it goes. Come on.
That nigga got a complex. That nigga is sick. Okay, so you graduate Harvard with your degree. How do we fill in that gap between there
that
and how do we get to
and the first
music,
album?
that first album?
Yeah, I mean, the first between there and the first album was really almost like a lifetime to me, and I feel like we have several lifetimes in our existence, and I feel like when you're growing up, you kind of are told who you are,
Facts.
and your parents shape you, and the people who are close in your family kind of shape you.
Who were
and
you
then,
told that you were?
a neuroscientist, you know what I'm saying? Black Doogie Howser type ways, you know what I mean? And then you start looking in the mirror and start to formulate exactly who you see in that mirror and who you actually want to be. And I was one of those guys that once I looked in the mirror and said, look, there are people that I admire. And I really, when I went to the library, because this was like pre-internet, I was in school from 94 to 98. I went to the library and the books I checked out were on Stevie Wonder, and that's because someone introduced his music to me and I realized he put out his first album when he was 11 or 12. And I said, man, I thought I was ahead in life. And here's a guy, I mean, first of all, the music that I was listening to was just so sophisticated. The chord changes, the patches, the synth work, the melodies, the cultural insights. And I'm like, man, he put his first record out when he's 11 or 12. I'm actually behind.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started looking in the mirror and say, hey, man, I could do that. I want to impact the world in the way that he's impacting the world. If that person who I've never met can have that kind of impact on me, I want to be able to amplify that through the continuation of the work that he started. And so I called my dad. I would say, hey, man, I want to be Stevie Wonder. And he took my keyboard away. He had sent me to school with like really a keyboard. He was like, send that right home.
Unplug that.
Yep.
Jesus.
Get that back.
We're not even about to play with you.
Yeah. And man, so I would say that, there was a lifetime in that time where it was the first time where I actually challenged my parents. I think anyone that's listening, when you decide to embark on a journey where you lead with the heart and you lead with your creativity, a lot of times you get stifled because people say, hey, that's a childish way of thinking. You just
Absolutely.
dreaming, And for me, throughout my life and career, I've always wanted to retain that childlike approach that's imaginative, that's without boundaries, that's without barriers, because I believe that's how we're all going to contribute the most in terms of our gift to the world, because we have to think beyond what people tell us that we are. So that's what I looked in the mirror and said I was going to be. And it took me about 8 years to get a break. But go ahead.
I want to stay there for a minute, because I think that's super important to our audience and anybody else that'll be listening for the first time, especially that's black, right? This is a podcast, there's a very black-eyed podcast. Like three black men. So even though we grew up in separate areas or different ways, this is part of the black experience that's the same, right? Like, and I'm pretty sure outside of Mac, who was like not groomed, but you were instilled in that you were given the opportunity to
at a young age
to experience entertainment and these things. A lot of black parents do exactly what you said, like stifle that young imagination. How at a young age did you continue to how did you keep that alive? Like in the face of your parent, your dad literally took your keyboard, like he's telling you like, all right, these are childish dreams and we need you to do this. How do you keep that alive?
Yeah, I think really for me, it was just about deciding and making a decision, a strong decision to just be great. And when you could be great, it's almost inarguable, because the foundational elements that are required in greatness are usually 9 times out of 10 foundational elements, which even the most discerning of parents may not even have themselves. And what I mean by that is you've got to have a level of focus, you've got to have a level of discipline, you've got to have a level of relationship management. You got to have a level of standard of excellence. And so whether you're going to be a neuroscientist or a music producer, that was the same kind of that was the same kind of investment that I made. The same investment that I saw the kids at Harvard making in their careers in the neuroscience field or the neurology or psychology or chemistry or biology, and the same fervor with which they approached their studies there. That's what I instilled in myself to deliver and invest in my music product. And so that's why when I did catch a break in New York City, and Puff was like, "Hey man, why don't you submit your little CD of beats?" I gave him 9 full beats every night.
How did that connection even happen? How do you
and it was an internship. So I got an internship with Young Lord. Shout out Young Lord.
Yeah.
And he gave me a 30-day internship, and he was mostly looking for somebody who could make original music. He was sampling. I mean, really, that was really just the culture of Bad Boy. It was take hits from the 80s, make them sound so crazy.
So crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when those hits became hits, the people from the 80s are the ones that got paid because they were interpolating and sampling, right? So he was looking for somebody who could actually
Make
play
the
original
music
on top of the beats that he was making. And so that's what I was entrusted to do during my internship. He brought the music to Puff, and then the rest is history from there. Puff actually was like, "Yo, you ready to work?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to work." I had a couple of records that I had been working on. One of them was a record called Hot Tonight, which I thought was going to be the way I got signed, which actually was the way I got signed.
But just a different way.
Right. And it ended up being the first single for New Edition. I remember Tommy actually telling me, he said, "Man, why don't you go ask Puff for that record?"
That was crazy. Hot Tonight.
Yeah.
When he had the baby and I'm
That was a moment.
Yeah.
They said, "Baby, you said."
Yeah. So I had done I made a demo of that record and everything, and I remember Tommy saying like, "Look, are you sure that you want to give that record away? That could be your first."
When you was giving it away, you knew who you was giving it away to, or you was just giving it to Puff?
No, I knew it was going to be for New Edition, and also, I mean, New Edition, that's Boston, Harvard's in Boston, and Mike Biv really, everything that he had done with regards to like Boys to Men, Bell Biv DeVoe, ABC, everything, all of that.
That made sense.
So I had an incredible amount of respect for Mike, and so I said, look, just to be part of that legacy, even in this new chapter when they're signing Bad Boy, I would love to be part of that legacy. And also, you have to also understand that when you have a great talent, you can't necessarily feel like, oh, this is the only record I'm ever going to have. So you got to say, look, this is, if I'm truly a well of creativity, then I can give that record away.
I got 15 more.
Right. I got Diamond Girl, I got Addiction, they're going to happen, and they happen. I got Gibberish.
Did they happen? Did they happen?
Man.
Yeah.
And that's amazing how you can say that, because as an artist, and I deal with artists dealing with music and stuff, I tell artists, like, sometimes, even when it comes to visual, or if you paint, whatever you do, if you're a true artist, you could give some stuff away because you're going to still create tomorrow. Don't ever be afraid to hold back from your blessings, because that blessing that you gave away started the trend of all the rest of your records.
Yeah, for sure.
So you give it to New Edition. It obviously pops off.
Yeah.
So now you transition from there to frontman artist.
There's a massive step in between the two, right? So I was a producer, and actually, let's just go back to what we were talking about. In order for me to even have that opportunity and to come from Boston, and trust me, getting out of school, looking for a break. I'm talking about looking for a break. I'm talking about homeless, staying in a garage behind a barbershop, taking a bird bath in the sink of the barbershop just so I could stay close to the mixtape community that was happening in the barbershop.
Barbershop bathrooms are top 5 most disgusting.
Atrocious.
Places.
They are atrocious.
I don't care how nice your barbershop is. The bathroom is always disgusting.
We ain't gonna throw Hassan under the bus like that. Like he actually had a nice.
He's trying to say here's a little upgraded version.
Well, look, Reggie, my uncle, that shit was always trash. Motherfucker, I go now. That motherfucking track. But my lineup
I'm about to
is
say,
worth it.
listen, my dad's barbershop was garbage.
That's
so
what I'm saying. The barbershop bathroom, and as a sweeper boy, having to go
Same.
go in there and clean the bathroom. No,
Like, no,
I'm not. I quit.
Hassan's was all right. It was all right. You know what I mean?
He must be getting money.
Yeah, he was.
You know what I'm saying? You must. There's some. That must be called Diamond Girl boutique.
Nah, he had a nice joint, and to be real, man, that just being in that environment actually kept me alive because all the hustlers, everybody who was anybody in the neighborhood came to get their haircut over at his barbershop. And so one day I see the big body Bentley pull up,
right?
And it's my boy Kelvin Sanders, and he came through and was like, "Yo, man, I like the music you're making." And I had set up just an MPC in the back of the barbershop.
Nice.
So as people are, listening or watching MTV Raps or whatever it was, they'd also hear the beats banging in the back, and maybe somebody come back and be like, "Hey, I got a guy who raps, I got a guy who sings," and then somebody actually came to that little space where I was creating and was like, "Hey, I heard you got a couple of records yourself." You know what I mean? And I had some records, and even with that kind of support, etc., you always need that right connection.
Absolutely.
You need that right connection because the connection brings you to that conversation, and the right conversation is the currency you need to really exchange and get to the level you want to get. So I had to go through that wilderness period, get to New York. And it's then that my parents really understood that this is what I wanted to do, because for me to still have that kind of passion and that kind of fire and fervor to still make music when literally it was not paying any bills at all.
It might have been causing a bill.
Yeah, definitely causing some bills. And all those bills are getting forwarded right to my parents' crib, right? And so,
was it hard when your parents started to come around? Was it hard to accept that?
Was it hard to?
Around? Like, we've talked about it at times, like when the people that's closest to you don't understand the dream and don't understand what you're doing, then it goes from a point of them not understanding to them like actually being against it. Then when they finally do see the fruition, them coming around, are you receptive to it? Or are you
I've always been receptive to any energy, right? Because I believe that you really control your destiny. You control how you want to feel about a situation. So I could get into an argument with someone that I love and say, "Look, is that really how you want to spend the next 5 minutes?" I'll rock with you if that's what you want to do. Understand it won't affect how I feel about you. I'm still love you. You can say what you want, close the door, scream, spit, whatever you want to do. It's not going to affect how I feel about you because I don't allow other people to affect how I feel. I want to feel great at all times. And so if this is going to be a learning experience, I'm going to feel great about this learning experience. So even if my parents felt some type of way, I know how I felt, and how I felt is that I want to always vibrate on that extremely high frequency, so that even when there's adversity, I'm embracing the adversity as a learning experience, and embracing that learning experience, knowing that it's actually ameliorating who I am.
Ryan Leslie, word of the day. Number
Part 2.
Ameliorating.
Write that down.
Okay. A large word we've never heard on this podcast.
I'll tell you what they do. Go with my head.
So we have fervor,
Right. Ameliorate.
and agnostic.
Agnostic.
That
We're
one.
at the, You're killing them, Ryan.
Yeah. Let's go.
Gracious.
Let's go.
You are killing them.
Let's go. So that's what I'm saying. I think we see it all the time in social media. Hey, embrace the hate. It makes you stronger. But at the end of the day, for me, it's just like, look, just vibrate on the frequency.
No matter
that
where
you
it
need.
comes from.
Yeah, and just be on your frequency, be on that playing field, and be on that plane that allows you to perform at the highest level.
Nice.
When you start coming down from that level,
that's when
your
everything-
performance is affected.
Right.
Your mindset is affected. Your ability to contribute the way you want to contribute is affected. And I definitely want to make sure we got such limited time on the earth anyway. I just want to be on the highest frequency.
It's funny. I just read this book, the four agreements, that really just spoke everything that he just said. That's crazy. Are there any like even at that time, was there anything that you were reading or keeping yourself around that was, I guess, keeping you motivated at the time?
Well, my parents actually the Salvation Army is actually a deeply rooted in religion organization, very religious organization, Christian based. And so really my mother's like a prayer warrior. So anytime I was going through whatever I was going through, could have been good or bad, relationships, whatever it was, my mother would always just know. And I would get on the phone with her, even if it was infrequently. I'd get on the phone with her, and she'd just say, "Man, I'm praying for you." And she would know exactly what to pray for, what needed to manifest, etc., what needed to, make its way out of my life. She would always just know. And so I think outside of books and reading, I mostly read a lot more fantastic books, like The Never-Ending Story and The Wizard of Oz, and actually reading those books. Alice in Wonderland, and then stories like by Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird. I would read those books over and over again because I think that also correlates with just how I make music. Once I key into a certain topic or I key into some piece of art that actually affects me, and I like the way that it's affecting me, I'll read it over and over again. And I think music is awesome because, people who are on my team, I'm always turning music off. And the reason why I turn music off is because I always have music playing in my head. I have a soundtrack at all times. Me and my sister would grow up and would be like, "Hey, what song you got in your head right now?" And it was cool when I was growing up because I had songs in my head that was like Lionel Richie or Michael Jackson. And then at some point, it's new. Right?
It's some new shit right now.
Yeah, exactly. Straight up.
Get out of here.
Throw that at him.
You ain't hear this one yet.
You ain't hear this one yet.
So that's the reality, is that at some point there was a switch, and that's when I knew I needed to make music, when the songs in my head were my own songs. They were my own creation, my own chord progressions, my own.
Do you remember exactly when that switch was?
Man, it had to be probably like 11, 12 years old. And at first, I was like, okay, what is this? Is this because I like some girl at school, and I'm hearing melodies, and and I know I'm seeing how she's actually responding to records that's on the radio. Nice. So does that mean that's
influencing what you're making?
If that was my melody, would she actually respond to it? And I remember actually in Boston, after I got out of school, I literally would write songs about literally anything. So I'd be on the train, the subway in Boston, and see somebody on their way to work and know I'm gonna see her again the next day. Go home and write a song about hey, the girl on the train. Give her the CD the next day and be like, "Oh, okay, she's actually responding to it. This is great."
That's
right?
a cheat code.
That's very Joe of you. That's very Joe. And then show you. That's very Joe.
That's another level, though.
I'm gonna start doing that. It might not be good.
You gonna go to jail? You gonna go to jail? Remember, he said that he was doing that shit
years ago.
You do that shit.
This guy on the train, he always sees me. He wrote a song, and I'm not.
This motherfucker is gonna fuck you. I didn't ask for this. You are impinging my rights. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in between the giving the records to New Edition and producing, and you said there was a large gap in between.
Yeah, it was a large
getting
gap
to your moment.
Right.
What's in that journey?
Yeah. So I would say that I spent a great deal of time really just studying the game. So I think one of the greatest takeaways from that time period was, here's a kid that went to Harvard in his teens, came out of school, had a Harvard degree in the music business, and really when I would be at home or in my studio, I'd be like, "Hey man, I know everything." Nobody can tell me anything. I'm advanced, I'm an intellectual, I'm smart. I remember Tommy sat me down one time and he said, "Look, you might be smart in everything, but until you're in a place where other people want to be where you are, then in the music industry, you don't have a point of view." I said, "What you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, you might have an opinion, whatever, but I actually don't. Until you're in a place where I want to be, I'm not interested in your point of view." And he said, "I'm not saying that to stifle any of your creativity or anything that you want to say or whatever. But I would also offer that as some counsel to you, that you should take advice from people who are in a place or position that you would like to be, right? So yeah, a lot of times, and this is important, for folks that are listening, if you got a team or a crew around you, and you might have a peanut gallery around you, people that love you, they're gonna have advice about, and you should probably take their advice about how life is making you feel. But in terms of taking advice in terms of business strategy, or in terms of the steps that need to be taken to get you out of a situation, you need to get that advice and you need to get that counsel from someone who's in a situation that you would like to be in. And so I had all these ideas about social media. I had all these ideas that even then. And I had all these ideas about one of my resident advisors at Harvard was in the business school, and he was a student of the music industry, loved the music industry, was the biggest fan of Teddy Riley, gave me my first ASR 10. Mm-hmm. I was on academic probation 3 times at Harvard, and he every single time advocated on my behalf to the administrative board. And he said, look, Ryan, the music industry is going to be unsustainable as long as they continue to employ the same business practices. And so you need to be smart in 2 ways. One, any publicly traded music company, you should short them in the stock market. So that was my first foray into, and once again, I'll say, when you have a mentor, when you have somebody that's willing to give you advice, when you have somebody that's willing to point you in the right direction, take their advice, because 9 times out of 10, they actually have some foresight, which you wouldn't actually have because you focus on your music. So if that's what he loves, and he's giving me advice on what he loves, he said one of the first ways to be ahead of this curve and to benefit from this shift economically is to any publicly traded music company, go ahead and short that music company, because they're going to need to completely recalibrate before they can start making money again. And we saw this happen. He predicted it. We saw it happening with the demise of the jewel case and the CD. Like everybody with the, all the dope boys that used to come to the barbershop, they had the Bubble Lex with the CD changer. There's no CD changers anymore on CDs, right? So with the demise of all of that recorded music and physical products, it took a second. I mean, we're recording this podcast right now in Spotify. Spotify was really one of the greatest catalysts in actually recalibrating the business and economics of the music industry so that we actually could aggregate all of the interest in music to streaming and then start to pay out. And of course, everybody had their issues with how much we're getting paid, et cetera.
True, indeed.
At the same time, though, the record companies have bounced back, and they're starting to do, their billions of dollars again, right?
They're getting it back.
And so that was the first piece of the puzzle. Was Sandy told me, look, and his name was Sandy Green. You can look him up. He's a professor now, a business professor in California. So he told me that. And then second of all, he said, look, the internet is really just going to change the way that music is discovered and distributed. And so as close as you can be to, and as much of a front runner as you can be to that transition, that's also going to bode extremely well for you. So I would go into meetings, marketing meetings, and, just be like, hey, man, how we doing on our data strategy? And they'd be like, what you talking about?
Data?
Like, can you go back to the studio and make some more beats, man? Like, what you talking about? Yeah.
The dates, nigga, with the dates with the beats, nigga.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got a deadline, you know what I'm saying?
Nigga, our strategy for this album is for you to have some beats.
Yeah. Exactly. So I would come in with all these concepts, and they necessarily, I would say that the response to those concepts was ill received at times,
right.
Mostly because I was the young know-it-all who was at the time in a position that was far different from the position that they wanted to be in.
Did that degree kind of did that degree couple with the success with the beat making and being connected to Tommy and Puff, does that at times put like a target on your back in the industry, like them dealing with you in a certain way?
Man, we talked about this a little bit. I had an interview recently with my friends over at the Breakfast Club, and maybe it did. For me though, I would say that I never really had it. In the event that there was a target on my back per se, I never really noticed it or paid attention to it.
It didn't get in your way.
Yeah,
it didn't do its job.
Yeah,
Of course.
Right.
So to really break down what happened in that gap is one of my friends, Rashid Richmond, called me up and said, "Look, Ryan, I think it's time." And I said, "What you mean you think it's time?" He's like, "Well, there's a new search engine that's really a front runner to all of the other ones, because there was Alta Vista, there was Yahoo,
Alta Vista.
There was, Bing still trying around.
There was Ask Jeeves was one.
Ask Jeeves, right?
And there was another one, I can't remember.
Ask Jeeves was wild.
Ask Jeeves, you can ask
wild.
Ray, you
Right.
can ask him whatever.
Right.
What's the one with the dog? Dog pile or something? No.
No. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
I
I can't remember that.
It was there.
Yeah. everybody knows there were a bunch of search engines. Google at that time was beginning to really blossom and be really that front runner. And so
that was the early 2000s.
Yeah,
right?
2000s, and then kind of mid 2000s. And so he was like, look, there's a way to actually, if you're smart, there's a way to actually manipulate the Google algorithm so that whatever you need to be a top search result can actually be a top search result. And so he said, look, I've been looking for a couple of different ways that I can employ this to our benefit. And there's a platform called MySpace where the charts are actually, there are people in the music industry that are starting to pay attention to the charts, and not just the music industry, but actually fans in general start to pay attention to the charts. And so he said, look, I think a way that I can actually utilize this hack that I have with Google is, why don't you, tell me somebody that you want to be on the top of the MySpace music charts, and anyone that searches the keyword MySpace, their MySpace music profile will be the number 2 Google search result. And so at the time it was Cassie. I had a record called Me and You. We put it on a MySpace profile.
That joint went crazy.
You keep just saying this regular shit.
It's calm. It's calm stunts. It's like
we had this record.
It's like, this food is good, but a gleany little salt. Pow! Right there.
Just me and you. I've been waiting.
Yeah, that was a good record. That was a record.
Right.
Come on, you talking to 3 niggas that was sitting in front of that motherfucking 106 and Park Street, like, give me more. Like,
focus this. What's going on?
And so she just happened to have all of the elements that, including that record, that just made her into really one of the first internet pop stars, right? A real bona fide viral sensation. And that was the moment in time where the switch started to happen, where people were like, oh, okay, Ryan might actually know what he's talking about when he's talking about all this digital media and social media and internet stuff. And so we actually might want to start listening. And so at that point, I immediately said, whatever I'm doing, I need to put on hold. When you put your net up and a comment actually flies into the net, you don't try to hold it down and be like, oh, I'm going to go chase that later. You ride it all the way out. And that's exactly what we did with Cassie's pathway and trajectory. And she really became the first internet pop star. And, I wrote and produced that entire album in 13 days. Just in that same Harlem apartment where people saw me actually making all those other records. And man, we needed to do that just because of the momentum of the record. And I think since then we've seen many other cases like that. And I think, maybe Summer Walker, I think Billie Eilish, and I think her brother's her producer, where you have these
Billie Eilish's brother,
where you have these, producer artists combinations, and they had happened previously, right? Like Missy and Timbaland,
Alicia and Timbaland,
Janet Jackson, and Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
Jimmy Jam and everybody they touched.
You know what I'm saying? And then let's not forget Dr. Dre. So Dr. J, Dr. J, Snoop, right? Yeah. And then to actually see this start to happen in a formulaic way in the internet age, you saw how much more quickly someone could go from relatively unknown to, fully famous, right?
When people caught on, if they ever did, when people finally caught on, how crazy was your demand being on that side?
Oh, it was super crazy. And I would say one of the main reasons why I pivoted to that strategy is because during my tenure as just a staff producer, I realized that from a timing standpoint, I was at the mercy of the release schedules. And I definitely, being impatient, being an innovator, I felt like, a lot of downtime was happening. I mean, I still got records with Jeezy right now. I got records that I'm sitting on just because. From back then.
That's crazy.
And later on, where, you're just waiting on the release schedule. When's the timing? When is the artist ready? When's the market ready? When's the cultural time? And so I wanted to just have the kind of autonomy that allowed me to just put out records.
We're at 4.
That's 4.
Autonomy.
Autonomy.
On the podcast. We're at 4.
Yeah.
That is
Ryan
really
Leslie word of the day. We are at 4.
Four words.
For those keeping note at home, we are at 4. 4 of them.
This is a all-time leading scorer.
Yo,
Right.
he's putting up crazy numbers.
Right now, he's cutting up the court. He's dunking on
I've never
everybody.
seen anybody come to my gym.
Make sure
and do
LeBron
this
James,
to
Kobe
me.
Bryant, and Michael Jordan, he's just doing it all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, Shaq.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
He's finding his lane. Straight his own shot. Make space.
All-star caliber.
All-star
Mama,
caliber.
there goes that man.
straight up.
But yeah, so you're talking about having control over
Having
your own
control
releases.
over the releases. And so I think that's really what the internet allows you to do. And so right now you can make a record and 2 days later it's on all platforms.
Shit, that later that day.
It's on all platforms. And so that really was what was most attractive to me about what we were doing with the Cassie project. We could put a record on MySpace, put it in that player, anyone could listen to it, anyone could share it, anybody could repost it. And I think that really that entire period was kind of the learning period for me. And it just came to a screeching halt. And I realized, okay, I'm only going to do one record with Cassie. And then once I realized I'm only going to do one record with Cassie, then I had to say, okay, now what do I do? Because I was on a ride and ready to keep going.
Well, for the people at home, what was the screeching halt? What was the moment, or what was the reason for coming to that realization that you're only going to do this one record?
Well, I think like it's always the artist's prerogative to decide whether they're going to make another record, and it's the artist's prerogative to decide who they want to make records with, or who they want to collaborate with, who they want to be around, who they want to hang out with. And so I'm definitely not in the business of trying to control that which is outside of my control. I think it's already enough of a formidable task to just be in control, wake up and do what you're supposed to do.
Formidable. We're not even gonna give it no. That wasn't even a 3. That was the jab.
That was the
great contact.
That was the mid. That was the mid.
It was in the post.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
But it wasn't a hook.
Move.
He put
No. It was
as soon as he felt the body, he turned, spin move,
layup.
he banked, and it went back down the court. Formidable.
Easy.
Quick job.
Easy.
So it's formidable to even try and get that.
To just even keep control
Naturally.
yourself.
Of yourself.
Right?
Exactly.
Like people will make New Year's resolutions and
never keep them.
It's all
What we just talking about before you came in.
Well, I mean, it's the 8th, and people already like, "Ooh, I'm gonna start over again next week." You know what I mean?
It's like the gym. Oh, New Year.
We
We
was
get
talking-
gym
we
membership.
was talking-
1 month. Next
Before I came
11.
up here,
Right.
I was at my other job talking about this. People, it's like that with podcasting now. Podcasting is the gym because that's so easy to do. So people done already started and ended podcasts right now.
That's a fact.
That's why there's 2.5 billion podcasts
there's
right now
some,
because people said, "Oh,
If you
they
can do
doing
it,
that over there,
I can do it.
I'm gonna do that shit."
That's
Right.
for me. That's everything in the world. There's so many people.
Yeah.
I want to be a chef. They cut their finger once. Now I don't want to cook no more.
Yeah.
I want to be a
Or
rapper.
niggas be
They
like,
go
"Nah,
in-
this shit trash.
You know what I mean?
No
Like
salt."
it's there's always
No,
the
I
people
don't
that
know
are
what it
cut
is
from a
about being
different
a rapper.
cloth.
Them niggas won't quit, bro.
Yeah,
niggas
they
be
won't.
dead ass.
Rappers don't
Right.
quit.
Yo, rapping.
Niggas will be 60
Nah, I'm not
years
gonna let you
old.
lie like that on this podcast, bro. I don't know what it is about rapping, but niggas never put it down.
You know what it really is?
I'm like, you
It's
know you can't
it's
do
your
this.
circle.
Right.
No,
Yeah, as
the
your
circle
no,
be
no,
telling
no,
you
no,
it's trash.
Hold on, no. You know what it really be?
No, it's the circle. It's yo. Once you, because you gotta understand, when you're in the studio so much, you hear something so many times.
It
the
kinda
trash,
rock.
you
You
be
start
like,
liking
oh,
it.
this
This
shit
shit
is
kinda
definitely
start
trash.
liking it.
It's
Or
either-
it-
hold on,
or it
you know what I
should
mean?
be better.
Right.
Or
You
it
hear
should
50
be
times,
better
you're
than
like,
the last
oh,
one.
okay. You might have had something here, but you really don't. So your
Right.
friends is like, yo, it's hot. It's really not.
Yeah.
Put me in your friend group. If you got it, if you want to say this, I'll tell you.
Yo,
right
hire Mouse
now.
Jones to be in your friend group so I can tell you.
Because I'm gonna tell you,
Right.
let's pick a
Yo,
different trade.
Yo, especially niggas our age. No, look, Ryan, I don't mean to hijack your interview. PSA.
Right.
It was 2020.
30 and
Yep.
up is
If you
quiet.
30,
Right.
if you 30, bro, and the only thing you ever headlined was the local bar,
Not even.
Hang it up, bro.
Yeah, just hang it up.
Hang it up, bro.
Local ball could be alright.
nah, bro, hang it up, bro. And I'm not even, I know niggas gonna be like, yo, they hating. That's cool. Call me whatever you want to call me.
So,
But name
it
me the
happens.
last,
It
name me the
happens.
last rapper at 30 to pop. Niggas love posting the memes.
2 Chainz.
2 Chainz.
He was 30 plus, and he was already a rapper.
Right.
He was already a rapper. Like
was.
we could
He was
front-
Titty Boy.
He was
Yeah.
Titty Boy.
Right.
He had the N already. Nigga, you are still.
I'm trying to think.
J Block, and you are still
Somebody
at your corner
at
local.
30 to
Who?
really blow up.
Who?
Think about it.
Who?
But not even Griselda. They not 30. And then they
Rick
been
Ross was
rapping
not
for
30 when he. Rick Ross was not
older than
30.
30.
He was older than 30 when Pusha came out.
He was older than 30.
How old? But he was. But hold on. But
he was 30.
Hold on. But he was writing for Slip and Slide.
Yeah,
before
he was
that.
already in.
He was already
Right,
in the
he
business.
was in.
No, we talking about
You talking about brand new?
You ain't had no in.
30.
And you just pop. You 30,
Yeah,
bro.
son.
Don't nobody want to be a 30-year-old.
That's a
Get a trade. Get a trade.
get a trade.
Don't start no podcast. Don't try to go to the league. Get a job.
Get a job. Get a trade.
Or like we're
Start
gonna
a
talk about
business.
later.
Start a
business. Get you an
Exactly.
app.
Right.
Figure it
But
out.
what I don't want is seeing more 30-year-old rappers. Niggas that graduated, well, I dropped out. But niggas that graduated with me,
I graduated.
anybody class of 07, hang it up.
Jesus Christ.
Hang it the fuck up.
Us Ryans go to college.
And that was that moment we were just in that transitional period where she just didn't show up at the studio. So I'm like, oh, this beat is fire, man. I'm gonna write some. Yeah.
Is any of that
You got-
success
you
or
got
any of
t-shirts
that,
for
any of those records, which was crazy, any of those records, was there any, how do you say this? Was any of that salty motivation? Like, oh, bet you don't want to fuck with me? Bet
Nah.
I'm gonna make this and that you're gonna hurt.
Nah. None of anything I'm do is ever none of anything that I ever do is ever motivated in that. I feel like that's also just like there's a different kind of there's a different kind of weight to expressing yourself in that way, and it works for some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe like an Eminem or whoever else where it actually works for. But for me, I just was like, look, I just want to be as honest as possible. I wonder if we'll ever find out how it was supposed to be. That was just so real. It was New Year's Eve. I was in the studio. My sister was in the studio. And, you know, I was like, man, I thought this New Year's Eve was supposed to be
The one.
she wasn't there. So I'm like, oh, that's a perfect course. I wonder if we'll ever find out how it was supposed to be. Or, you know, what would you do if I left you out of the blue? I mean, those records are so, when you listen even to just like,
It was real.
Right.
It was real moment.
It's real. It's real. And so, honestly, you know, it's about really just, it's cathartic, you know? So it's like,
6.
That's, yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
that was a
ridiculous.
3.
That was,
That was a 3, but it was a different kind
But
of
it was
three.
because
No
he
screen.
he pronounced it in
Right.
a way
In
that
our face.
he
That's
called
what I'm
it.
saying. No.
Sham go.
No, he
Splash.
walked down. He walked down. He looked at us in our face and said, "Oh, where?"
He called it out.
Where I'm at.
Did he call it out?
He looked.
Steph Curry?
Nigga, he was on the. You know, I'm a Knicks fan. Unfortunately, he was on the logo.
Ooh.
That nigga launched from the logo.
right,
Allen Houston.
Allen, no lean.
Nice.
Either. No lean. He was. Whing.
right.
So now we
I
have.
have a feeling it's only halftime.
Yeah.
The second quarter just
Yeah.
started. The second quarter started. He's already at 6.
Right.
This is crazy.
No.
So
But I
it's
mean,
cathartic, right?
because you have all that emotion and you want it to be expressed positively. So music is a great vehicle to get that expression out. And then also just the feeling that, okay, maybe what I'm writing will actually help someone else through this situation. And so the number of people that I've ever written to, now everybody can text me directly now. So some of the texts that I get are, hey, this song got me through this song got me through that. And then, you know, there's
You
also
changed the game with that.
Nah,
You changed the game with that with that text shit, like with just being able to text. Like I remember the first time I heard him say, I'm like, this nigga about to let people just call him.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
I know it was going wild.
It was.
Yeah.
It was definitely going wild, especially right at the beginning. And after certain interviews, like this one, it'll probably go. It'll probably go.
I remember the first time I heard it was you were at Combat Jack. You was on rest in peace OG Reg.
Yes, sir.
You was at Combat Jack, and I think it
Yeah.
was like Black Mozart.
Yeah.
He was talking about, and then
Yeah.
I said, this nigga's crazy. He's not about to.
Yeah.
not
And
he
a
did.
texting number.
Nah,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I never forget. It's probably 2 days later. My man was like, "Yo, you listen to Combat Jack shit?" I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Bro, I'm about to text that nigga Ryan Leslie my shit right now." I said, "You know how old he is, right? He's 30 now.
He's 30. He's
Ryan
30.
Leslie never answered.
That's
He's
a fact.
30.
Yeah. I had to
Steve,
write.
I know you listening. Hang it up, bro.
Yeah, I had to write about that. I said, literally, my opinion means very little to your success as a musician. So I could either like your record, I could dislike your
change
record.
nothing.
I could even buy your record. I could buy 100 copies of your record. That's only such a small part of what it really takes to be successful as a musician. So for me, the way I could be most helpful, send me your record, but send it with a business plan. And then I could tell you based on your because music's subjective. It has nothing to do with the quality of your music. That's why so many people will hate from the sidelines and be like, yo, he's not even hot. He's doing well,
He's
right?
doing very well, but you can't say anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Business plan.
And so for me, I'm more interested in, look, whatever your dream is, whatever it is that you really want to do, wherever it is that you want to go, however you want to make an impact in life, however much money you want to make, let me help to advise you on that. Let me look at your business plan or lack thereof. Let me put you in the
Guys
right
next door,
direction.
we're here.
Yeah, we are
You know,
here.
if you wanna help us at all,
we would.
Listen,
Hey, for
I got a
sure.
business plan for you.
He got
Yeah.
a business plan. We got the
We
deck.
got a
Right.
business plan.
Yeah,
We got a live show next. Well,
Yeah.
it already happened.
Yeah.
But if you want to get in the DeLorean and come see how it went, come
Yeah,
to the live show
time.
and see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got a few words.
Yeah.
You know, six maybe between us.
So you're speaking about business plan. So I already know that you had a business plan for the first album. Explain to us, walk us through the business plan of that first project, because I already know it was great.
Your format was
Yeah.
changed.
So I really got to give it up to just being open and receptive to having great people around you. And I would say that if you look at all the greatest impacts that have ever happened in the history of technology, or whether it's industrial age or whatever's going to happen even in cannabis now, it's about finding that person who's a visionary, and the person who's a visionary having great people around them that are going to give them great ideas, and allow the person who's leading to have the discernment to pick which great ideas are the most timely to be correlated to the success that you want to achieve. So I really got to give up a lot of that early Ryan Leslie success to a young brother by the name of Shiv Pandya. And Shiv was at Rutgers at the time, and it reached out either via email. And I think I had always had, like even back in Blackberries and two-way pagers and sidekicks, I had one of those on my website. It was like, yo, put your information in. I didn't have a full texting platform, but I was interested in receiving as much as the universe was interested in giving me. And so I wanted to have an open door at all times for all the greatest ideas. And so Shiv, being such a, and shout out to Shiv, now he works very closely with Steven Victor and Pusha T.
Yeah.
And super smart. I mean, one of the smartest kids that ever reached out. And he said, look, Ryan, you're a person that is rooted in the internet. You've already started to build on these early social platforms. Why don't we start to take a look at that data and see where the audience is, as opposed to trying to force your way into an audience or a place that already may be saturated. And so, I mean, at that time, I think, especially from R&B, you were starting to see the shift, which was really that shift to like the Young Money, Akon. It was kind of that were they rapping, were they singing, etc. And so R&B, even if you wanted to get on festivals, etc., they weren't really necessarily. It was not a Frank Ocean, headlining Coachella time.
It took
at that
a minute.
time.
It was a minute.
Yeah.
It was a minute before. Yeah.
And so what Shiv was saying is like, hey, let's go into discussion boards, let's go into chat rooms, let's go into places where music is being exchanged and see where the people are who are actually commenting on your music. And we started to see that a lot of the activity and feedback was coming from Europe. And he said, look, the way to get to folks in Europe is they still have a great affinity for vinyl records. So let's press up some vinyls and let's start to distribute them to some of the core mix show and club DJs out in Europe. And then what we're going to do that's going to differentiate you from all the folks that are actually going out and touring is, instead of kind of feeling like you're God's gift to whoever's performing out there and just doing your records over a track with a DJ, let's spend the money, let's do a band. And for every U.S. artist that goes out there and only does a half-hour show, you go out there and do a 90-minute show with the band and actually be as personable as possible, learn a little bit of the language, etc. And so once we found that was an ingenious way of kind of circumventing what the marketing plan for the United States.
Circumvent 7.
We're at 7.
Circumvent.
That was a calm, fast break. Euro step 1, 2. Bang.
It's me.
Filet.
I'm just on his team. I'm just like the. You don't even got to pass me the ball. I'm just.
Yo, look at this. Yo,
I'm here. We good.
Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
We good.
All right, KD.
Don't worry about my players. We are okay on this side. Holding it down.
Now it's 2 rides, right?
But it's been 2 rounds.
The 2 ride podcast over there.
I mean, call it what you want. Let you know what it is, though.
KD left.
Jesus Christ.
Carmen met his ass on that kneecap.
That's fine.
Jesus.
Me, it's Katie and Kyrie in Brooklyn. You heard?
Neither one of them are playing.
We taking the season off.
Oh man!
All right, so now we're here. We're moving
so that was
forward.
the business plan. The business plan was just let's let's play where people appreciate. And so you could build a great foundation that way. I would say for anybody that's starting a business, play where you have an audience, play where you, and also for me, I think it was also a little bit different because growing up, I moved around so much.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas Trey had Virginia, Chris had Virginia, Ross had Miami, Snoop had LA. I went to 4 different high schools in 3 different cities.
Damn, sound like me.
In my junior year. So I was not running around claiming.
There wasn't
and DC would claim me, and Stockton would claim me.
I'll take it, but you didn't have the specific.
Exactly. It wasn't like, hey, I grew up with these people. I was on the block with these people. I went to high school with these people. I went to college. I mean, and college was very sort of disjointed anyway, because people came from all over.
Everybody comes from everywhere in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that really was the business plan, and it worked out. You know what I mean? Now, let's be real. I didn't sell a lot of records. You know what I'm saying? My first record sold maybe like 180,000 copies. That's a failure in the music industry.
Back then. Nowadays.
Now.
Yeah.
You do that now.
Yeah.
You do that now.
You're number one. You're number one.
You do that shit now. You number one. And you the front of every social media. I mean, not social media. You the front of every streaming platform too. Yeah, you on that homepage.
Yeah.
Hot new albums.
But I mean, at the same time, there needed to be a recalibration of how sales and demand were measured, which is why a certain number of Spotify streams will get you a gold.
That's a fact. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without the actual necessarily selling physical copies.
How was that? But were you critically acclaimed? Was that first album critically acclaimed later on? Or
I actually put 2 records out in the first year. So one record came out in February.
Was the Ryan Leslie, and then the one with the green transition. With the green
Transition came out.
The deluxe joint.
That was the
in
one with the shit
November.
with the Sunday night.
Sunday
night.
You're not my girl. Sunday night. Yeah, those.
And then you got the Pusha record on there.
Yes, something that I like.
Zodiac too.
Zodiac was on. Yeah,
we fans. We fans.
He expected. Look, he was waiting to correct us. Actually, that was on. No, we here. We're here. Well, this is Ryan Leslie and us.
Yeah.
So we actually all go on.
So two projects in the same year, and the second one. Yeah, and the second one was Grammy nominated. So it was critically acclaimed. The second album, Grammy nominated, sold only a third of the number of copies. So only 60,000. So I felt like that to me was a sign for an exit. Right, because whatever system I was in was definitely going backwards. It was going, if my first record selling 180,000 copies, and my second one, which is Grammy nominated and critically acclaimed, arguably a better body of work, is only selling 60,000, then whatever seed was planted was, I would say,
it felt like it was regressing instead of progressing.
Exactly.
Mac Wild puts up 1.
Right.
Mac Wild regressing. That's 7-1.
Right.
We are on the board.
Right.
We're on the board.
We good over here.
Right. Now we good. Nigga, when you leave, you still next to us. You still here. Yeah. Nigga, you on the.
I might
you're
go
in
him.
this house.
Might go him.
Get your bag. Get your bag. Pack your bag.
Hey, been packed.
TV.
Hey, been packed.
Get your bum ass Xbox.
Right.
Get out this house.
I think I'd rather live in a castle.
Right. He gonna be on the coastline, right?
Yeah,
Castle on the coastline.
Right.
Ryan Leslie gonna have you in the fucking cellar.
Right, that's right.
Field and text messages.
The cellar's kind of big.
Stop it.
Right.
Anyway.
Clear port to the coastline. There we go. There we go. I feel you, man. I would do it too.
Now, did there ever feel a point like, because to me, if and like I said, I'm not a musician, I'm just somebody who loves music.
All right.
If I'm doing something and it's not getting the number wise, like if we're doing this podcast, I can make it super personal. The first podcast I ever did was called the He-Man Woman His Club, right?
Yes.
That podcast I started in 2015. In that first year and a half, we weren't doing astronomical numbers. But I knew whenever I said something, I pissed off a lot of people. I knew everybody in New York and all the important people, label people, they were listening.
Right.
So even though I'm getting 500 listens a week, it's who's listening.
Exactly.
So to me, that is almost the same as, all right, even though your album didn't sell as much as the first one, it's Grammy nominated, which I'm not saying we believe in these white institutional awards, but clearly
it was the right 60,000 people listening.
Like clearly the people are paying attention.
There's a
Right. So my thing is, what about that said to you, okay, let me exit?
Yeah, I think really for me was that I wanted my business to be tended to the way that I would tend to my business. And without control of my business, I would need to sort of relinquish responsibility for the performance of business-wise to those that were in control of the business. And so for me, I would prefer to be the one that could look in the mirror and be to blame for the regression that Mac was talking about. And so, you know, in order for me to do that, I needed to be out of a system and be in a place where I could actually be in control of my destiny. Fire. And so it's important because it takes an incredible leap of faith, and it takes someone who's built the right way, right? Because some artists and some creatives and some folks that are visionaries are built to have a support infrastructure around them. And for me as an innovator, I want to be an innovator on all levels. So I would like to innovate what my support infrastructure is. And so I was able to re-engineer my support infrastructure to be a one-to-many, meaning that every single fan that was actually interested in me, they would have the ability to support me directly. And in having that ability to support me directly without the label, without the streaming services, without Apple Music, without everyone being in the way, collecting data, remarketing and retargeting people who were coming to their platforms because of my creativity, I was able to build that kind of direct one-on-one relationship. And that's really why I believe companies like Amazon have returned so much value over the years, is because they have that data set. And so I've been able to benefit from studying that by being an investor as well. So being an investor in Amazon from 2009 to now, you can imagine the run of that trajectory over the last 10 years. So
your pockets is feeling lovely right now.
You're doing pretty well.
Your pockets got a little.
No wonder you can say so many $17 words. Yes, he got it.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
And
Brian,
so
you
listen,
over there?
those chains are baguettes.
Those the whole time.
Baguettes.
They've been calling
baguettes dance differently.
They dance differently.
They're
twerking on his
understand.
Yeah.
They got shoulders.
Those baguettes have been yelling the whole time. Keeping me this whole time like,
I'm here.
House,
Right.
fuck up your account. We would fuck your account up.
Yeah.
Kids would not eat by us.
Yeah.
But you'd be happy.
Right. You'd be shining.
Diamond in the room, like at this point in my life, talk to me like the motherfucker from Harry Potter. I'll be your precious. Looking for your precious. Buy me. Nigga, I'll be in a role like that, like, just buy me.
Right.
Oh my God.
Look at all your friends have one and you don't.
Right.
Stop it.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for any entrepreneur that's out there, whether you're doing music, whether you're doing a health food stand, whether you're doing a juice bar, whether you're a fitness instructor.
Or podcast.
Yeah, podcast, yoga instructor, you want to do a tech startup, just know your audience and be as personal as Amazon is with you. And Amazon serves every customer, right? And so that's really the standard to which eventually I want even people who are on my platform, they're getting text messages. Amazon, when you make your order at Amazon, you're not worried like, ooh, they're getting too many orders, they might not get to mine. You expect that your order is going to arrive, right?
You know it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so
I'd be surprised.
They tell you exactly
Them
when.
motherfuckers. So look, some motherfucker told me the other day about some shit. I said, don't listen. However Amazon run their motherfucking house, I get my shit when I order it.
There's no thought in your mind. Oh, it's not coming.
right.
They tell you when
I'd
it's
be
coming.
surprised.
Right.
You can actually
Track it.
I wanted to come a little earlier.
Yo,
Right.
I ordered some shit the other day. Zeus had me order some shit the other day. It said it was supposed to come on Tuesday. That shit got there Monday. I said,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I said, what the fuck? I said, Amazon, let me put you on my favorites. That shit. Let me put you on.
For sure. And that's what I'm
Shout out
saying.
Bezos. Shout out Bezos.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that as you really look at how wealth is being created now, we're all proud of Jay-Z.
Of course.
For touching the Billy, right?
Yes.
I know a lot of unknown.
I know a third of that came from me. I gave Jay-Z every ounce of money I had.
Right. And I'll say this. I'll say, look, it probably took 20 years or 21 years to get there, right?
To get to the bill, yeah.
Right. And then you see that, somebody who creates a platform like Dropbox can do it in 7. And I think the ability to do it in 7 comes is directly correlated to knowing every single customer. And caring about knowing every single
Speaking
customer.
of that, by the time you actually stepped away from music, when you said, okay, this is how this going, I'm gonna step away, to the time streaming comes into play
and becomes as big as it was.
Are you excited? Because now you're like,
Oh, yeah.
now motherfuckers gonna get my music that wanted my music.
Oh yeah. Extremely excited. The difference though is where do I want to invest my time, right? Because there's an opportunity cost of time. So once you have children, once you have a family, and you have a crazy work life, you have to decide, hey, am I going to go to the soccer game? Am I going to go to the PTA meeting? Am I building a huge company? Am I going to do date night tonight? And so you start to realize that like your time is ridiculously valuable. And so that's why I would say in your 20s and 30s, when you actually are making some money, I think some of what you're talking about where, you know, don't listen to the baguettes. Don't listen to the Rolex.
Yeah.
Don't listen,
Not yet.
don't listen to the cars. You know what I mean?
And put be whispering.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The Rolex the other day in the store, it whispered and licked my ear.
I showed you the new watch. I showed you the watch.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Right.
No, the one that
You want the green one? You want the green one?
I want the green, the two-tone green shit. They called my name. It said in my ear. It said, "Mouse, you like me?"
I know. I know it's
Lick my
going.
ear.
It's gonna come into this room.
I want the Paul Newman. I
know what you're talking
Daytona.
about. I know exactly what you're
I
talking
don't
about.
even like Florida.
And I want
I like Florida.
Right.
I want the Paul Newman Daytona. And I want the
I don't even like. Shit,
and I
you know
want
we don't
the,
like Florida. I know you from there, but you know we don't like Florida.
and
That
this
Daytona shit.
this
take that.
joint right here, the open face.
Oh my.
The open face AP.
Y'all thinking of
Man.
big little?
Yeah.
I just need a
Man.
gold Prezi.
Man.
I'm good.
Baby,
You know,
I need a
Look,
black AP.
But you know what? Actually keep it 100.
Here you go. Watches
Watches,
down on us.
watches actually retain their value.
Yeah, they're
You know what I'm saying?
more
But doesn't that-
assets
doesn't that
than,
really depend on-
liabilities.
The brand of watches.
Yes, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
Timex
yeah.
don't
Because
mean
look,
nothing.
Get out of here with your bum ass Casio.
Your Michael Kors watch don't mean nothing there.
Oh, I just got
Right.
this.
My fault, Denora.
Right.
My fault, Denora.
Sorry,
Because you know the Michael Kors, Dominican is Michael Kors.
Yeah, they.
I'm just saying. But where is Michael Kors?
Let's go.
Where is Michael Kors?
Tell him.
But where is your Michael Kors? But where is your Michael
DM,
Kors?
mommy.
But where is your Michael Kors?
Everybody, no. Everybody has had their step by step to get to where it's
Not
at.
me. I
Not
just
me.
said, you see it. I
had a Michael Kors.
until a
I
few
definitely
weeks
have
ago.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't now.
Nah, the only. I've
Right.
only
Okay,
had.
no, ain't nobody.
I've only-
You ain't
I
never
was-
had-
She's never had a Michael Kors. Don't play with
you
me.
ain't-
look,
you ain't never had no
I had a
family
G-
members with a Michael Kors?
Several.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying.
Right.
The Dominican community has kept Michael Kors alive.
That is hilarious. That is common.
Am I lying?
You're not lying.
This is what I'm saying.
But this
the
what I-
Dominican people
look,
are telling me I'm telling
We
the
have a
truth.
broad community, so we have to just announce that all watches do not hold the value.
Your Timex,
Yes.
your Michael
Yes.
Kors.
Right.
Oh,
We don't got
let
a
me tell you
name.
this.
We don't got a name.
Let me tell you this.
Right.
Y'all Rolexes, the bust downs, as soon as you put them bullshit diamonds in them,
Yeah,
them
they
shits
not
dry.
Them shits is fucked up.
Jay-Z
Yeah.
said,
You
them
fucking
ain't
them up.
Rolex diamonds, what the fuck you done to that?
Yeah.
Shout out every motherfucking time.
Every time.
Yeah.
So all that shit, it ain't cute.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
I don't have
hey,
no
hey.
watch.
It's
Don't
true.
listen to me.
It's true. It's
I
true.
still check my time on my phone. Don't listen to
Yeah,
me.
it's true. It's true. And I will say this: like in your 20s and 30s, when you have that incredible asset of your own time, where the only person that you have to actually really consider. And actually, you know what? I can't say that universally because I do know that there are young families out there. There's young fathers out
here.
there. There's young mothers out there.
for a fact.
And so that should be even more of an incentive to make the right financial moves. And so
Yeah.
for me coming up, my parents, they really didn't, you know, I came to New York, my first year in New York, got my little advance, et cetera. I'm walking to the bank. I got $650,000 in the bank. I can't call my dad and say, hey, what do I do?
That
Because
hurt.
that's more than
That hurt a lot.
Yeah,
that's
a
more
fact.
than he actually has earned over the last 10 years, you know, in aggregate.
Okay.
And he raised a family of 4.
That was nice.
He looked you in your face, stepped back, and said, "Bow, aggregate, bitch ass nigga." Yo, and then he walked back like, back, like he backpedaled. He didn't even turn away.
Ask me on the side. Yeah, that's my boy.
Nigga just had the guy next door jersey.
Nigga ripped it off. You know the kid in the park, he get beat, he come back with his cousin. Like, all right, my cousin really played ball.
My cousin back. Nigga, you bought LeBron? Nigga bought Bronny?
Right.
So good, Ryan. We see you.
So I'm saying
we see you out here.
that should be even more of an incentive to just make sure your capital and the cash that you're making is in the right place. And I would say, like, look, I even had to go back and educate my parents, right? Because my mother, she just grew up saying, like, look, credit is bad. And not because she
But
knew any better. She just said, look, I've seen too many people who can't get a lease, who can't get a car because their credit is bad. So let's stay away from it. Let's do everything cash. And I would say, look, there are so many better ways to make your capital extend for you to have the life you and lead to have and lead the life you want to live. You just got to make the right moves. And in order to make the right moves, you have to have people who are in a position that you want to be, and you're taking counsel and advice from them. And so, in all of the different initiatives that I have started, the wealth plan that I recently started is one of my favorites, just because it can help someone, or it's really geared for people who are in their 20s and 30s that maybe you just got your first job and you're just figuring out how to budget and you're thinking, hey, I should put something in a savings account. Maybe that isn't the right place if you want to have Amazon level returns over the next 10 years to keep it in a savings account, because the same $100K in a savings account for 10 years as you would have put in Amazon over the last 10 years, you're talking about a 1,500% return, 1,500%, not $1,500, but 1,500%.
I'm not gonna lie.
No.
I thought he misspoke.
No.
He
said
right.
Listen. My man does not misspeak.
And that's your man's, right?
1,500.
That's your man's, right?
I told her how we met. I came up to him at a
gave you
concert.
5 IGs and that is your man.
I came up to this man at a concert and had a meeting with him the next day.
Yeah.
Just
So
off
now
of me,
that's your
like,
man.
that's been my man.
Yo, Ryan, when you came in here, you knew who he was?
Nah, he didn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
They really go there.
Yeah.
I recognize.
Once I said a little something, he was like,
Look, he said, when he came in, Twitter app. Yeah, that was you, right?
But you know what's actually crazy is that if you really just think about that story, he said he pulled up at a concert and was actually in a business meeting the next day. That's the reality, and that's what I think is going to really take for our community to start to change the narrative. And I think someone told me, I think there's a new film that's out called Uncut Gems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really
Shout out.
Shout out to Safdie Brothers.
Yeah.
Shout out my boy
Wasn't
Flo.
it? Yeah,
Drew was in there, right?
Yeah.
Greg
Shout out my man
Yuna.
Greg.
Shout out Yuna.
And so basically, in some discussion about that film, someone told me that a dollar stays in the Jewish community seven times before it leaves.
Before it leaves,
right? And so I think that
every community besides us, besides the black community,
and that's what I'm saying. That has to change. And in order for that to change, we have to change our mindset of how much we want to help. And so when Ryan came to a show and said, look, I got an app, I have a tech idea, I'm working for a technology company. I said, yo, let's take the meeting tomorrow as long as I have the bandwidth. And so that's why my number's available. That's why I'm trying to basically memorialize all of the knowledge that I have. So even if any crazy, you never know. Once you start talking like this, you could become an actual real target. Somebody might want to take you out. So that's why
that situation, because to me, I was just graduated college, I just stepped into a world that I knew nothing about, and I'm like, yo, I fuck with Ryan Leslie, but I know he's on this tech stuff. What are the chances I'll have this meeting? It's probably 1 in a million. But he gave me that chance to somebody. It might have never happened. If that meeting never happened, in my mind, I'm gonna be like, man, forget him or forget this whole industry. Like they fucking me over. But he took his time. It was like, yo, you have time tomorrow. And tomorrow your office is right over here. It was right over here on Wall Street. I went to his office on Wall Street with the CEO at the time, and we had a full meeting. And from that point, he was working with the company and all that stuff. And for that, and just in that situation, I was like, yo, this could really happen.
Yeah, it's different. And so I think we just need to show, and I think the platform that you guys have to be able to talk how you talk and still make sure that the right kind of messaging, whether it's motivational, inspirational, educational, I think that is so critical for our community to have these kind of voices and have these kind of discussions and conversations.
We consider ourselves a health podcast because we want everyone living healthy, right? Like whether it's mental, physical, emotionally,
financially.
You literally hear us. I'm 100% sure they tell us all the time, like from the time we started almost a year ago to now, they've heard our life progression.
Right.
And we look at things differently, not just from a monetary standpoint, from an ego standpoint, emotional standpoint. So it's like we just want to continue to see people that look like us live healthy.
Yeah. It's that time now to start this entire culture and pathway of ownership.
That's actually that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you. I guess you've been fortunate enough to kind of be on the cusp of so many different amazing things, like be it the spark of Google or
Right.
the MySpace wave,
Right.
even your YouTube videos. There was nobody
Nobody was
doing.
doing. It was only
Nobody
literally
doing those.
For a moment. It was only you and Joe.
I swear.
Only you and Joe. Joe had Joe Button TV, and you had your
was-
check, and you had your vlog, and that was it.
That
and
was
everybody
it.
started doing vlogs.
Like I didn't, and even me being on 90210, I wasn't as well traveled until I started watching his videos. Like it's like that's what showed me
Let's
the
go.
world for
Them
real.
joints Let's go.
Those joints was
But
motivational.
Dead ass. But so right now in this space, what do you think is going to be the next development? Like, what do you think is
That
going
we
to be
can
the
come
next?
in with, you know. We
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
No, I'm just saying. Like, what do you see, or what do you forecast as coming up next?
Yeah, and I think we've been talking about it. We touched on it a little bit, but I think that every entrepreneur, especially for us as creative entrepreneurs, we just got to make sure that we take care and we're great custodians of our data. And I think that we've already seen that large data companies are the ones that, as controversial as they are, they're the ones that are creating the most value and convenience for us because they can personalize their offerings. So whether that's Facebook and Instagram giving you content that you want to see, or Amazon recommending products that you really want, or Netflix recommending films and television programs that you're going to enjoy, that data is what informs their relationship with you and makes you loyal. And so as we create music, as we create businesses, as we create startups, we need to make sure that we're great custodians of our data. And so I think that starts with the phone number. And that's
Yes.
why I created a company that allows people to, at scale, own and interact with tens, hundreds, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of phone numbers, because that's really our most powerful social handle.
That's
you know,
amazing. That's
and
amazing.
I think I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting the other day with a couple of guys, and they're fully in Manhattan now, but they keep their 914 numbers, right? Because their phone number has become a part of their identity.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Absolutely. I
Same.
tell people that literally I just changed my phone company. I was like, I'm keeping this number. Like
kept the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's you got to. You
Yeah.
learn that from the hood. Like
You don't even understand. I go anywhere.
travelers keep
go
that number because you got to keep
You
it
got
moving.
that
keep it
number.
moving.
Got to keep clicking.
Yeah.
I go anywhere in the world and somebody see 718, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I'm
They
in the
know.
conversation.
It's
bro.
all-
That's
it's all-
646.
they know.
Like,
Yeah.
what's that? That's New York.
That's
Yeah.
right. My 646. I'm not giving it up.
I'm never
Yeah.
changing 646.
I'm not.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
some new. What's the
929.
929.
Yeah,
Nah, you
whatever.
keep
And,
that.
and, nine-
And
and
whenever I
928
see
is
that
another one too.
929,
I know you.
do not
I know-
answer it.
I know you ain't been there.
You trapping.
I know you
Give me
ain't
out
been
your
there.
phone number.
Yeah.
You ain't been there.
You can still buy a 212 though.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying.
you can?
go-
Yeah, you can still copy
go
212.
buy
I never
one.
got it
Yeah.
212 because I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
It
it
was
never
718,
made
646,
646
yeah.
or 718.
Seven- yeah,
Or
718.
sometimes if you
347,
like East Flatbush,
347,
like
347.
917.
Yeah,
917.
Yeah.
Those are throwbacks.
Yeah.
917 was my
Yo,
first
yeah.
one.
She texted
That was
you.
my first one.
You got a 917. She might be OG. She made the game.
Look,
That was fire.
So let me ask you this, because everybody hears this part and hears the business part. Let's talk about the human part for a moment.
Right.
You were speaking about having kids, having a family, making time. How do you do that amidst 2020? You running businesses, you a mogul. How do you make the time?
I'm still single and no children, so that's how I make the time. You know what I'm saying? I spend my time with
This
them.
nigga eyes lit the fuck up. Now he really
Say,
lying.
like, the Ryan, the projective is just money.
Jesus Christ.
It's called trajectory.
No, mine. I make my shit up, do whatever I want.
Goodness gracious, I can't deal
Put
with
this
it.
nigga in the G.
Yo,
Put this nigga in the G list. He's not fucking with
I'm a
us.
coach.
Right?
I'm a coach.
Yeah. So I figured now, my sister has 3, so the burden that my parents placed on us to bring the grandchildren to, she got, it's Kai,
She got
Ivy,
it all.
Kodiak.
So you could just delegate, mom. But
Uncle
she
Ryan,
got it.
yo, we want a pool. We want, you know what I'm saying?
Got
all
it.
that. Well, got
Do you ever
right?
do you ever get in these moments now where you're like, damn, I want that? Because you wrote a whole bunch of love songs that people love.
Yeah.
And had babies too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to say. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We really here. Yo, you should bring us on tour.
Yeah. Let's go. It's a group. It's a group.
We can open up. We can do the
Why didn't we-
podcast first.
First of all, why didn't we open up the live show last month?
That's it.
Why didn't we open up the show?
Should have been a countdown. We have our conversation.
It's a group.
No, that's who we should talk to.
Yeah,
Why
you
you
gotta-
didn't
you
talk to
gotta
us
go
about
ahead.
it?
What?
Don't turn around.
Ain't no hair that way.
Oh man,
That's a white wall. That is a white wall.
It's all right.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some more.
Look, we gonna be
There'll be more.
Bring it
There'll be
back.
more. There'll be
No,
more.
but because but I seriously do ask that because I asked that question to Mac and I asked that question to us. Now that we have this platform where people listen for advice and take every word we say without a grain of salt, like they go by what we say.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I know in my relationships or with my arguments with people, they be like, well, you supposed to know that. Don't you got a podcast about dating and you be giving all this good advice and Matt, you write songs and you sing and people believe these songs. Same thing with you. So is there ever a time where those worlds crash where a woman is like, well, you don't wrote this song, so I expect you to know how to deal with me.
No.
Must
I don't
be
even.
nice.
I don't
Where you
even.
where you
No, I
finding
don't
these
even
aliens?
really. I don't really allow anyone to really like. You got to be on my page. You know what I'm saying?
He's on another- he's on another-
and
No,
honestly,
that's true because we talked about that yesterday.
He's on another wavelength.
you got
right
you
now.
got to be on my page, and that you have to be on my page by choice.
Yeah,
All
you're
right?
not forcing nobody.
Yeah. So and so I'm looking for alignment. You know what I mean? Just are your goals and mine aligned? We good.
That's the name of
I
the
like
episode.
that.
Looking for alignment. That's
Yeah.
like that. We got a name.
I was
Straight
thinking
up.
castles and coastlines.
Looking for alignment.
Right. Yeah.
Seems like you got
How they turned on me so fast.
Just say it's all right. That's your boy, right?
Yeah.
That's your boy.
It's gonna be me and my man Ryan. Me and Ryan on tour.
That's your man. You just got fucked up.
Me and Ryan on tour.
The Ryan toy.
Right.
Whatever.
Sound good.
Right.
His name gonna go first, and it's just to go say Ryan.
Ryan, no, it's gonna say Ryan Leslie.
That's cool.
And
With the little,
it's gonna
with the
say.
little round and bottom. I'm a little round.
I don't think you get marquee, buddy.
You're not cool
Jesus
with us.
Christ.
It's cool.
Yo, I can't.
Mac
I
and
can't.
Mouse?
It sounds
Sounds
whatever.
good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's all good.
So do you ever think about, or do you ever put yourself in that predicament where you're like, at least by this age, I want to settle down. Do you do that to yourself?
No.
Smart man.
I feel like, look, life is
You ain't
already
this perfect, nigga. I'm about to get mad.
Like,
Nah,
Nah,
man.
because I'm getting tight. Now this nigga,
Nah.
because mind you, we are in New York City. It is 30. There's at least 32 degrees.
Right.
The nigga came in a jacket, denim jacket, a t-shirt, and when we started recording, niggas been in a white beater,
entire
tank top.
time.
It looks expensive.
With
It looks
baguettes.
expensive.
It is expensive.
It's an
Understand.
expensive tank
that's
top
good
with
cloth.
number baguettes.
That's very good
So
cloth.
you can't be that perfect. What the fuck is going on? You don't know, but seriously, what do you? Even in joking, saying you're not that perfect, do you still have that self accountability where you're like, damn, I fucked up here? How do you?
Oh yeah.
How do you bounce back?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many times where you realize the folly of whatever it is that's in your way. Maybe it's your own ego. Maybe it's what you're chasing. And I think once you get to that point where you understand what you really want to give. And it's about giving, and you make that your intent. So even in your conversations, what can I give? In your relationships, what can I give? In your business practices, what can I give? In the time that you're giving to yourself, what are you actually giving? When you're eating, what are you giving to yourself, right? I think that once I changed my entire perspective about giving, it just recalibrated my intent with every moment that I actually spent. You know what I mean? Down to sleeping. You know what I mean? And so I think
How
really
many hours a night are you sleeping?
3 to 4. 3 to 4. And
It's funny. I was watching.
I was about to say we're on good.
Yeah, right,
our
we're
fucked up
right.
sleep schedule. We're on good path.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Because it's like 3 to 4. It sounds right. up
Listen,
my alley.
Yeah,
I'm
actually sleeping a
getting
lot
maybe. I'm about to say I'm maybe getting 3 to 4 because
But
of my
what
daughter.
about before?
Because of my daughter.
Before baby girl?
Oh, it was terrible. My
Okay,
sleep
so-
schedule's been terrible since 9
My sleep schedule has always been
Right.
horrible, but ever since
The
surgery and
surgery,
shit, I've been
Really?
7 hours, 8 hours,
Right.
and
That's
I'll
great.
take naps.
I wish.
But
That's
I
great.
know it's gonna end soon.
That's
It's like
great.
at a certain when I get back healthy, it's back
When
to
you and Ryan go on tour?
We're back to 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's great.
Gotta get back.
But I will say, I do take that seriously, and so I had
That
to
you
go.
make sure you at least get those 3 to 4.
Well, I had to see.
No.
I had to go see someone about
Okay.
it because apparently there's only like 1% of people who actually can survive for a long period of time with only 3 hours of sleep. And so when I was in school, I actually taught myself or trained myself to be on a polyphasic sleep schedule.
I know what that means. Yeah,
so
it's
that
like
means
you take
that
3 and then
Oh,
you
is that
take
9?
like
Oh,
3.
like, do we take that to the booth?
I'll
Is that
say-
9?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get
That's
it.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Throw
I didn't
that
know
out.
what it meant, so I don't know.
I
About
definitely didn't know what the fuck it meant. So
Right.
please explain that.
different phases of
Different
sleep.
phases.
So you
Okay.
just you do your
polyphasic. Okay.
Yeah, so your main phase is that 3 to 4 hours, and then anytime you get tired, you take a nap. So anybody that's run with me, throughout the day, if I know I'm gonna be in traffic for a half an hour,
take a
I'm gonna
nap.
take that quick nap.
I'm out.
That's me.
That quick.
That's
Any
fact.
planes, most 9 times out
But
of
see, if I
10,
take a nap, I've noticed that if I take a nap, and it's been like this probably for like the past, since I got back from the military, so it's almost 10 years. If I take a nap, I'm fucked up for it. That
can't
3 to
sleep.
4 hours is now maybe 2 hours. Like it's my sleep schedule start. If I take a nap in the middle of the day, by the time I go to sleep, I can't go to sleep at all. Like I can't even
man.
get those. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, I force like in the middle of the day, if I get tired, I force myself to stay up, or I know I'm not gonna sleep at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the human body, and if this is also a health podcast, the human body is ridiculously resilient. And also once you can start to build habits
Yeah.
over time. And I think building great habits is just making great promises to yourself and keeping them. And so for me, I'm like, look, whatever it is that I really want to get done, if I want to work out, if I want to reach a certain number of steps per day, I want to run for a certain amount of time, I want to, make sure that I'm reading however many hours per day. I set those goals to myself. I keep those promises and I recalibrate based on what I feel is healthy or not healthy, right?
Well, what is your workout schedule now?
So it's daily.
You're looking mighty healthy in this thing.
I'm about to say.
You're holding us
there-
niggas down. Being on the podcast, niggas talking about, I put up 80.
I told you I'm your size now.
No, you're not.
Right.
Nah, you're not.
Oh my goodness.
Bigger than you? Close?
Yes.
Right.
Whoa.
Ain't no pause. Yes. I don't know. Maybe. None of my business. But yeah, so you work out every day?
Yeah. But I actually, I was working out in the hood, 24-hour fitness on Tilden. You know what I'm saying?
fire.
You gotta stop.
And
Get
then,
out of there. You
and
gotta
then
stop.
they shut it down.
You
They
shut it down.
no,
The wolves was out.
No, they actually closed the gym.
That's
and
crazy.
so at that point, like I was like, yo, this is important to me. So I actually just built one in the crib.
Fire.
You know what I mean?
Fire.
So roll out of bed.
Ladies and
just
gentlemen,
go
the
to-
last episode of the a nigga is not gonna come into my gym. Let me tell you,
broke. He
a nigga is not gonna come into my gym. Put up 9 on us on the Ryan Leslie word of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
That was kinda
Turn
crazy.
Ryan against us.
Yeah.
I was
Then
there
look
already.
me in my face and say, yeah, I was going to the hood gym 24 hours. They closed down, built one in the gym. Built one in the crib.
He
Right.
said they closed it down
And built
so
one in
I
the crib.
just
It's
Ladies and
important.
gentlemen, ladies
It's
and gentlemen,
important.
you'll
He didn't
find-
tell
It's
y'all. He didn't
important.
tell y'all he started a membership program for the people that couldn't go.
Oh no, fuck it.
Right.
He said now they all come to my gym
Right.
and it's Ryan Leslie Fitness.
Nah,
You're 24.
And so here's the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a nice run. You can find me at your local corner.
Put in work.
I'll be podcasting on the corners now.
Jesus Christ.
So everyday workout.
Yeah.
And of course, I know that has to come with the way you eat and
Yeah.
and your diet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how does that?
Listen, I've been exploring. You know what I'm saying? I have folks, friends of mine are close to me that are fully alkaline, folks that are on keto, folks that are non-dairy, folks vegan, folks vegetarian. For me, I'm just like just sort of a straight ahead protein and vegetables guy.
Smart.
You know what I'm saying? And I eat really for fuel rather than
to feel
Rather than
full.
to feel-
Yeah.
As you shouldn't. I tell people all the time, do not eat to the point where you're
Portion
full.
control, man.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
Our
eat
people-
6 meals a day.
Our people gotta learn portion
Small
control, bro.
meals that
You know
don't
what?
fill you up.
Actually, I challenge that. And
here
the
we
only
go.
reason-
Yes.
the only reason I challenge it is
Ryan about to get fired.
the only
Ryan
reason
about to come back to guy next door.
Right.
HR.
No. Only reason I challenge it is because recently, I'm not sure exactly where I read it, but there was a scientist that put forth this concept that we're actually hunters.
Yes.
So if you're actually a hunter,
You eat what you eat what you
yeah,
kill.
and so if you only get one meal a day and you spend the rest of the time hunting, you actually should be able to just survive with one
Nah, that's a fact.
at one sitting. You know what I mean?
How many
I think the 6
meals have you hunted?
Right. But I think the 6 meals a day vibe is like, you know, a lot of it is you just figure out what your cadence is.
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, I do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
And so, you know, in the times that I actually can eat, which is usually just pretty much between 8 hours,
Right.
I maybe get in 2 full meals.
Yeah.
Right.
Just about
And
2
some
full
snacks,
meals.
right?
Maybe some snacks, a protein
Right.
shake here and there,
Right.
but it's mostly to get in the proteins, the vegetables, like
Yeah.
all of the vitamins and stuff that I need. Other than that, we're off. We're chilling, no food, no
Right.
whatever. But
Right.
that makes sense.
And I would say like I really put I have a really regimented schedule. So like everything's mostly automated in my life.
Like food, meal prep and everything.
Everything.
That's
Time
fire.
of day,
That's fire.
all the way down.
I'm
you know?
starting to work myself back into it because for a minute I couldn't eat anything and I just wasn't hungry.
Right.
And then now I'm starting to get my appetite back, so I'm starting to like portion it out. But even when I say 6 meals, a full meal for me could just be some fruit.
Okay.
Like if you throw that in there,
That's
in
definitely
between,
not a full meal.
It's not a full meal. It's definitely not.
Right.
But if you do,
The funniest part about that is that's the breakfast post of every girl that goes on a diet. Like
Oh
if
my
every
God.
girl got a regular job, like if they work at an office,
It's orange
orange
quarters.
slices, a banana, an apple, grape, and it's all the same
maybe,
post. Starting this diet. Oh my God, don't know how
Nah,
to survive.
don't get it
Girl,
twisted.
look.
I can't just eat fruit and be good. I'll have a
shorty
meal
chill.
and then in
Shorty
between
chill.
that, there'll be some
Shorty
fruit.
chill.
Yeah.
Since you're about to die by your break, by
So-
your first 15, you gonna be
You sweating, you didn't even walk. What's going on? But that's all about diets. You know that. Mac is a person of diets. He goes through a whole bunch of different things all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You just
yeah,
explore
no.
and figure out what's great for you, what
Exactly.
works for you, what makes you feel.
But I think
you know,
even
at
in
your
this
best.
platform, I think we're doing like such a work. You know what I mean? Like just being as open as we are with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like at the top of this podcast, I was like, nigga, I'm never giving up chicken, nigga. Like fucking milk, nigga, I love it.
And then now Zeus.
Now, nigga, I don't even remember last time I smelled something that was dairy, nigga. No dairy, no fucking what am I, pescatarian?
you
no,
don't eat fish.
it's like I don't even know what to eat no more. I just be like, oh, whatever, okay.
It's
Give me
about
it.
being smart.
Oh, I did have a vegan. I had a vegan grilled cheese today. for
Wow,
lunch.
how was that?
That shit was banging.
Yo, so
Vegan
Salam,
food,
I went to,
vegan food is
I went to Salam's house
depends on where you
randomly
go.
one time in Miami, and mind you, Salam lives in like
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
house.
heard of it.
Looks like
Never been.
I know this house looks like
We didn't get the invite, Matt.
Huh?
We didn't get the invite.
It's all right. Next time we in Miami, his house looks like the crib from Belly. Fucking
Tommy's?
No,
crib?
not Tom. Not
Nas'
Nas's
crib?
crib. Like the Jamaican dude's crib.
Oh,
yeah, Ox.
Lennox.
Yo, yeah.
Lennox.
He looks like he
R.I.P.
lives in Lennox crib. Yeah, R.I.P. to
R.I.P.
man.
Lennox.
Yeah. But he made a vegan lasagna with it was ridiculous.
Really?
Yo, it was
A
ridiculous.
vegan lasagna would probably taste way better than vegetarian lasagna.
Yo, I
The vegetarian lasagna, they gonna put cucumbers on that
Nah,
shit.
he did
That
the- he
vegan
did the- he
lasagna,
did
they gonna
the-
put the vegan cheese. It's gonna
He
be
did the vegan cheese with the Beyond crumbles. And I was like, yo, you're wildin'. You're wildin', Salam. But it was phenomenal. And I
That
don't even
good?
eat cheese.
As a pescatarian, I find myself eating mad vegan meals anyway.
My
Just because there's not like how much
There ain't
seafood. Like
nothing
I'm still broke, so ain't too much seafood we ain't too much seafood we getting. Ryan, we appreciate your time here.
We really
so we
do,
got to
man.
close
We really
out
do.
the podcast same way we do all the time.
Great.
First and foremost, a health tip for the people. Leave the people with something that they can go on with. And like I said, it could be mental health, it could be financial health. However, something healthy that the people can.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely go for the financial health, and I would just say like, look, you know, whatever you're doing, wherever you're putting your money, hopefully you're saving some money. Wherever you're saving your money, make sure it's giving you the best return, and that doesn't mean go mess it up in Robinhood and try to bet on stocks you don't know what's popping. Find some folks or find an outlet or a pathway that gives you some advice where even if it's just $20, $200, $2,000 that you're putting it somewhere that's beating the savings return rate of your average savings account. Don't believe the hype that you should just put in a savings account, even though banks will give you all
Of
kinds
course.
of
Yeah,
marketing.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
this
Of
is
course.
30 times better than somewhere else.
You got to remember
there are better places to put.
Yeah.
It's better places to put your money. And I never actually try to give advice without backing it up. Like I said, I do have a financial literacy and investing subscription list on text where I literally tell people exactly where I'm putting all of my money. So if you want to subscribe to it, it's called Wealth Plan. Just shoot me leave your number at wealthplan.co. I'll get you more information, wealthplan.co, not .com.
Let's make sure we put that in the hyperlink in the bio.
And like I said, I'm just here to help. So whether you text me through that or you leave your number at textryan.com, you got a business plan, you got whatever you're doing that you want to excel at. I'm here to help. Straight up.
Yeah, if y'all need anything, you can't reach him. If you can't reach him, you can reach me. I'll forward the information.
Anyway, Fly
you
Rod.
have a health tip.
What's your health tip?
My health tip for the day, it's been helping me because of the situation I've been in, is cardio. Like, honestly, just getting out there. I don't care if you're walking or you're riding a bike or you're doing anything. It's always good to just get your steps in for the day. And that's been helping me because it's been hard for me to like breathe for a lot.
Smart.
So now it's just like that road to getting back to where I was fitness wise. So, yeah.
Matt, you've been out the crib for a minute. But
Yeah,
what you got for the people?
For a health tip, I would tell everybody, it is the beginning of a new year. And I think everybody should go get a physical. I don't know how long it's been since you've gotten one. Hopefully it's been only a year. But if it's been longer, don't be afraid to go to the doctors and just get a quick, general checkup. I'm about to go get mine this week. So everybody go get your checkups and, start the year off right.
Why you keep looking at me, Ryan?
Because you need one. I see it in your left eye.
Nigga, I get my checkups all the time.
I see it in your left eye. It's twitching a little bit.
Oh my God. I miss you guys.
Mouse,
what's your
health tip? This is gonna be on more or less the mental, emotional part.
Cool.
Don't never believe your own hype. Like I see right now, especially in this mood, in this climate we're in, with people being able to become quote unquote famous or a celebrity so fast. Even us, people start to believe their own hype, and I watch motherfuckers that I love start believing their own hype, and you lose out on opportunity every time. Motherfuckers ask why, like, yeah, I'm extremely talented than all my peers. I'm way better than my peers, but that's not why I win every time. It's because when I walk on set, I shake everybody's hand, and when I leave that set, I thank everybody and I shake everybody's hand, and that shit means something. You get what I'm saying? Because I see how those gaffers, designers, production assistants.
Without them, it's a team.
But when I do that, they be surprised. They be like, oh my God, nobody ever did this before. And I'm not doing it as no press campaign. I really want you to understand that 4 years ago to this day, I was sleeping on my brother Alameen couch.
That's a fact.
Trying to get into the shit. I was hitting Mac up trying to find a way to be his friend and still let him know, like, yo, I don't want nothing from you. Just, you know what I mean? You my nigga. And I still had to find my way to get out. 4 years ago, I was still hopping the train in Jersey to get to New York when motherfuckers called my phone last minute. Hey, you want to be on this? Shout out to Heather Haynes. Shout out to Blogzilla. Those people that was giving me opportunities. Motherfuckers never knew. I was hopping the train. Motherfuckers never knew that if I got back to Jersey.
And then again, it wasn't even a question. It was just like, I got to go get it.
And I got to get it.
Yeah.
When Matt hit me up and said, yo, I want you to do this, the movie, I was fucked up. I made sure I got there.
Definitely made
Every
sure.
time. What, we got to shoot again? All right, I'm coming. You feel what I'm saying? So never believe your own hype. And that goes for, so if you listen to this and
it's part of that 10,000 hours we always talk about.
Fuck the 10,000 hours. I don't care if you 20,000 hours.
Don't fuck
never believe your hype. I'm telling you, because
never believe you bigger than you
this
really
shit,
are.
Absolutely.
as good as I am at my craft and my talent, if I don't have y'all behind me supporting and giving a fuck about what I'm saying, I'm nobody. I'm just a motherfucker yelling into a vacuum. So never believe your own hype.
Yep.
And last but not least, before we get out of here, Ryan, you gotta drop a record for the Get the Drawers playlist. The Get the Drawers playlist is available on Spotify, Tidal,
Apple
Music,
yeah,
everything, all your streaming platforms. So Get the Drawers playlist, and thank y'all for letting us know when y'all using it. Y'all nasty asses. But Ryan, you got to kick it off. Drop it, and you can't drop your own record.
Okay, I won't drop my own record. So let's take it to the Nutty Professor soundtrack.
Oh, shit. Touch Me, Tease Me?
No. We'll take it to, there was a super group that they created just for that soundtrack, or Devontae was producing. It was a group called The Basement, and they redid Let Me Love You Down, and just that record is crazy. I was just rocking to that.
Sheesh.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Little Rye.
Yeah.
oh. Crazy.
Baby Rod.
We're still Ryan.
Rod Jr.
That's fine. That's cool with me. I'm gonna go Music Soul Child, So Beautiful.
That's the one. That's good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a
you got,
pretty good
man?
one. Dang, I wasn't even prepared for this,
got
which is crazy.
How could you? You ain't been here for 6 months.
I know it's been a minute.
You should have a few. Matter of fact, to get the Jordan playlist, might have got in some heat.
Exactly. You get the drawers playlist is how I got here. Jesus
Got
Christ.
the drawers in the baby.
I got the drawers
Got the drawers
and the
Pampers.
child. Let me see. Nah, I don't want to do that. I have one. I was like, nah.
Wow. You know what, Denora, you talking shit. Come drop a song on the playlist because you might as well be a part of the show. You've been here so many times talking
Exactly.
shit. So Denora, come drop a record on the playlist.
One record, just one.
Come on.
Come on, bring your Mary J. Blige hat over here. Drop a record. Come on.
And I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna share no shit. I'm not gonna do it.
Oh man, come on.
We're gonna go. I'm gonna say
They can't hear you from over there. Come on. Ain't you a part of a successful podcast? You know they can't hear you from over there.
Dirty by Tank.
Ooh, okay.
All right, Mouse, what's yours?
I'm gonna go Ryan Leslie.
You dirty
I'm gonna go Ryan
bastard.
Leslie and say
You
Sunday
dirty
night.
bastard.
Sunday night?
Right.
What? Or something that I like. You put any of those on, we're having a good time.
He
Mac-
said we're having a good.
Mac,
How you
I'm
gonna
still
end
waiting
this
on
up?
you.
Okay, give me. I don't think I put this one yet. Alex Isley, Don't Do.
Shout out to Alex Isley.
Shout out to Alex Isley. That's my girl.
Ryan, please tell the people what you got going on so they can support you. Your financial literacy.
We talked about it. So the easiest way to get in touch with me, if you're interested in sort of my wealth plan, wealthplan.co, and just in general, just leave your number at textryan.com. Either one, you get a text right back from me. That's my direct cell. Same number my mom reaches me on. So
That's
lit.
Straight up.
What a man. Shout out to you guys for the continued support. Thank you, neighborhood. We love you. Thank you the neighborhood that came out in New York City for the live show.
We about to hit all other
And
cities.
yes, we coming on tour. We said we going on tour. We announced it, so y'all can stop asking, "Oh, we going on tour?" We said we going on tour. So we will see whatever city. We'll see y'all soon. Make sure you follow us at Guys Next Door _ on Instagram. Use the hashtag to continue the conversation on Twitter. Hashtag Guys Next Door.
Yep.
If you have a listener letter that you want read on air, remember to put your own name, your own fake name in the subject line. Email us at guysnextdoor123@gmail.com. And if you are looking for relationship advice, which you don't have to, ask us some other shit. God damn. But if you do got relationship, if you need relationship advice, you gotta send a picture of you and your significant other.
And why?
Because I don't want to give fat girl advice to a skinny girl. I don't want to give pretty advice to an ugly girl.
That's
It's just
smart.
that simple.
It's that simple.
That's simple. I gotta give you in 2020. I'm being intentional with my advice giving.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
meet you where the fuck you at.
Okay, I like
Okay.
that. I like that. I like that.
Now I've been Mouse Jones,
I'm Mac Wild.
I'm Fly Rock.
and we are
the guys next door. You bitch.
I feel